Okay, I'm in England and we are on Greenwich Mean Time. It is Greenwich summertime right now, but now it's like after 8 o'clock. It's 8:27 here. So obviously the quote rapture unquote has come and gone and nothing happened. Which of course nobody expected really to happen. But the fact that everybody on the planet, or a lot of people on the planet, talked about a particular word at a particular time because it got to be contagious and people started like listening to what is of course nonsense, but not believing it. Even most people, 90%, 99% of people didn't really believe that there would be a rapture. But there is, what is it about the idea of transcendence that gets us to chatter about it so much? That's what I find intriguing. And I mean, given the demonstrable weakness of these kinds of arguments, these kinds of arguments from superstition, we have to, like, creationism, intelligence. I mean, there's so many, the idea of the rapture. We have to ask ourselves, why are these arguments so persuasive to so many people? And I know not the majority, but to so many, and certainly nowhere near the majority. One important reason, I think, is that they are consistent with the intuition that complex structures could not come about through simple mindless processes. Why, though, should we expect our intuitions on this matter to be accurate? The history of science suggests that our intuitions about reality beyond the range of everyday experience are reliably unreliable. For objects similar in size to us and for periods of time measured in years or decades, they're usually accurate enough for our purposes as human beings. But beyond this, all bets are off. Our intuitions systematically fail us on the scale of the very large. That is, of course, on the cosmic scale, where we employ theories like relativity or, more recently, string theory, but certainly not everyday Newtonian physics, which we think of or thought of as true until the late 20th and early 21st centuries. Much of modern science is deeply counterintuitive, and the evolution of life is also counterintuitive. It's not as mind-bending as relativity theory or quantum physics, but it does require us to leave our natural intuitions at the door. Unfortunately, though, most people overestimate how useful intuition is as a guide to truth. Intuitive plausibility is the royal road to popular appeal. Hence the insistence and success of creationism, intelligent design, and the rapture among the religious non-scientists. From the moment Darwin put forward his theory, it was obvious to his contemporaries, as it is to us, that if he was right, the biblical account of the origin of life must be wrong. In principle, people might have concluded that the Bible was wrong about the details of how God created life, but not about the fact that God existed in the first place. And some did take that route, especially once it became clear that Darwin's theory was here to stay. However, many viewed the biblical account as a package deal and assumed that if evolutionary theory challenged one aspect of it, it challenged it all. That, of course, is why so many fundamentalist Christians will not look at the validity of evolution and stubbornly insist that it could not be true. Like the average Victorian of 1859, today's fundamentalist Christians perceive in Darwin a very real threat to their worldview. And that was no better evidenced than the gullibility exhibited by belief in the, quote, rapture, unquote. But the threat does not just come from the clash between evolutionary theory and the biblical account of creation. Indeed, if anything, this is the least of the believer's worries. we need to consider, for example, since we know that we are not privileged, and that evolution is a force on all life, we have to ask ourselves, what are human beings? Who are human beings? And what is our place in the universe? How do we decide what is good and what is, I don't like this word, but what is maybe evil? How do we decide what is moral, what is ethical, what is the right thing to do, now that we know that Darwin was right? Is there any way to do that in the post-Darwinian age? Does evolution mean the death of the idea of right and wrong? Those are just some questions that came to mind, and they, are things I want to talk about in the future, because that's what I've been reading and thinking about recently. Anyway, you guys take care and happy post-rapture. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.